Hi, I'm Kyle Werkerly, certified professional ghostwriter. I'm glad you're listening as I welcome industry experts to share stories of lessons learned the hard way, overcoming professional hurdles, turning experience into actionable knowledge, and how to connect with your target audience. This is the Career Challenges Podcast. Welcome to the Career Challenges Podcast, and my guest for this episode is Jeffrey A. Mangus, CEO of Ghostwriting USA. Jeffrey, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you so much, Kyle. I'm really excited to be here this evening. It's a pleasure. We've been trying to get this on for a while. We've been trying real hard.
Yes, we have. And we finally made it work. I understand you're very busy. We did have to reschedule a couple times as well. But I'm just glad we finally got it to work. And just before we started here, I was telling you we were having technical difficulties. So we made it work. Nothing was going to stop us. Not even
That's
technology.
Exactly right.
Gosh, I want to break a computer right now. So also the main thing I wanted to bring up, you also are a ghostwriter. And so definitely want to talk about that. But let's take it back to the beginning. Ghostwriting, when did you first have your first experience with ghostwriting? Like, did somebody tell you about it? Or, somebody had mentioned it and you're like, I wonder what that is. So where did ghostwriting start for you?
Well, I appreciate that question. Let me go back. I'm not going to go too far back, but I will give you some quick history here. Because I've led kind of a prolific entrepreneurial life. I've used to own two real estate companies, two multi-million-dollar real estate companies. I was a real estate broker for many years, managed a lot of people, and got out of that industry. And when I've been writing for a long time, since I was a kid in high school, junior high, I've always been, writing. A few years back, probably actually about 25 years ago, I went to the Institute of Children's Literature, really had the idea of writing children's books, which I still love to do. It's a hobby and a passion, the children's books. I really believe in them. So that got me started in actually writing. And I remember getting a $25 check for the first time I wrote an article, And it was exciting. I didn't even want to cash the check. So I wanted to keep it. But that started me on that path. But over the years, throughout, with my companies and other companies that I started being a copywriter and, really got into writing. I've written hundreds of blogs over the internet, web pages, social media ads. No one even knew it was me. I was behind the scenes. But I was getting paid pennies on the dollar, for this work, but I knew I was honing a craft, but I didn't really know what ghostwriting was. I mean, I did and I didn't. Never entertained the idea of actually doing it professionally until in 2017, I lost my left leg below the knee.
Oh my gosh.
And I went through, I was septic and I went through a harrowing near-death experience. And it was a traumatic time in my life, and I didn't really know where I was going to turn or what to do. So, but I saw the need and the drive that there was a need there to help amputees. So I wrote my first book called Limb Lost Life. Mm-hmm. And that gave me the taste. That really gave me really how to put the experience on how to put a book together, how to write one, actually, how to revise, how to clean it up, how to, design covers. I mean, I don't design covers, but getting it done, the work done, and actually holding a book in my hand. And then I saw this little ad, and it was for a gentleman by the name of, I'll mention him. I know he would be okay with me mentioning him, is a gentleman, a prolific ghostwriter named Derek Lewis. Mm-hmm. Derek, I don't know if you know Derek, but
he actually bought me a crepe. So Derek and I are on good terms. Yeah.
Derek is an incredible man with much respect for him. And I took his course, but over the course, Derek and I, it became more of it went past the course type of thing. He and I became friends. And he kind of took me under his wing and really helped me out. and really got me on the path. And that's when I just decided, you know what, ghostwriting books is what I want to do. It was just it was no, it was like I just drew a line in the sand and said, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to do. And, because I was challenged with, trying to find work with a amputated leg, but I knew I had things in my brain. So I'm like, you know what, I'm going to make this work for me. So that's how I got started.
Awesome. And so you said you took Derek's the Ghostpreneurs course, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah.
It was offered through a gentleman by the name of Ed Gandia at the time.
Yeah, and I've talked with Ed as well. Yeah.
Yeah, Ed's a great guy too. He has a high ticket?
High ticket copywriters or high ticket sales copy.
One
of those two. One of those two.
Yeah. I don't. And Ed, I apologize for misquoting your business, but he runs a great business. And but I took that course, and then, but as I got through really, talking to Derek and asking him questions, and he and I talking on the phone, it became more of a mentor student instead of just an online thing. And it was really one-on-one, hands-on. And I mean, Derek and I've worked on projects together, here as of recently, with ghostwriting projects, and he's always just a thumb tap away with a question, and vice versa. He knows that. So
yeah, and he's been really instrumental in helping me as well. Getting my career up and going too, and I was working a day job, and he's like, well, we can still do coaching calls after hours. I'm like, I know this is your time with your family. He goes, I understand. So I felt really guilty, but he was so nice to take time out of his time with his family and talk to me. So that was always
that's
great and humbling as well. So you said you wrote Limb Lost Life. And so was that, I guess, your first book under your name?
That was the first book under my name. Yes. Officially, over the years, I had a lot of books that I'd never published, but I'd actually written, manuscripts that, thank gosh, I didn't publish them.
Yeah.
I guess they were, I look at them as practice scripts,
Mm-hmm.
But that was my first one that I was actually, proud to hold and proud to sell. And it did really well in the market. And but things have went on with that, and I think I told you in the beginning, I've got a new book coming out, and we'll talk about that. But Limb Lost Life is unpublished right now because of that new book
coming out. Awesome. You'll have to explain that to me as well, because my first taste with publishing was, I put together a manuscript, and a couple agents had shown interest in it. So it let me know, okay, I at least have something that they're interested in. It was just that next step I couldn't quite get past. So I self-published, didn't market it at all. Book went nowhere. And so instead of being disheartened by that, I'm like, okay, I can learn from this. I can get better about it. And then, a couple more steps along the way, I ran into ghostwriting, and Derek was also instrumental in that. But for you in writing your books and helping other people to write books, I guess when was it obvious to you that, okay, I can not only write a book, but I can help other people write a book? What was that moment like, looking back
honestly,
now?
Thank you. Honestly, the transition, into that phase of it, helping someone else write a book, was honestly, not so hard for me because, of my background of, being a real estate broker, managing a lot of people, and which included managing their lives and their livelihoods and their income. And it was my responsibility as a broker. I was responsible for everything in place. So I have that nature, inside me to help people. And I think that's why, number one, Derek and I got along because he's a helpful nature. He's that type of person. And he and I really got along well, and we understood each other. And that kind of just phased into, yes, was I scared the first time I was contracted to ghostwrite a book? Yes, but I had confidence enough in my abilities to be able to capture another person's voice. And can I explain that just a little bit?
Oh, sure. Go ahead, please.
Okay. might be a different take on this with other ghostwriters listening today. Uh, I was a professional musician throughout my adult life. I was a touring musician, toured the country, and I played in Los Angeles, California for many years, and Hollywood, and done a lot of things that most people don't get to do. But the reason I said that, it's the creativity part of it. I'm being a songwriter, writing songs for others. It all just kind of transcended into the ghostwriting career. A helpful guy who could have some has feels like they have some quality writing skills, and be able to listen to someone and listen to um, not only listen but hear them.
Yeah.
Hear what they're saying and get into their life and understand their motives and their passions, and to be able to convey that in words. That was an easy transition for me, really. A few stumbling blocks, of course, and Kyle, how that is, but overall, it was not so bad.
Yeah, definitely, because the process of quote unquote getting into the author's head, that's not a one shot, like you listen and then you hear exactly how to do it. Every client I've worked with, there's been at least some back and forth. And I always love telling this story because I was working with a guy. I recorded our conversation, I transcribed it, and then I pulled out stuff, his actual words, and I put it into the manuscript. And he read it and goes, "Well, I would never say that." And I'm like, I literally have that on tape, you saying that. But as a professional ghostwriter, I was like, okay, how would you say that? And we edited it that way. And that's just part of the process. I mean, a lot of people, we sound smarter in our heads usually, or we say things differently in our heads. And then of course, when it comes out, and I'm guilty of this so many times, I say it and people are like, well, what do you mean by that? I'm like, well, duh. And they're like, no. You said something else, like don't, or, and added an extra word or something. So that process of getting into people's heads, there is give and take, and there is a lot of trust involved. But what I'm finding too is people who recognize they need a ghost writer, they have no problem with that. Like, they understand that it's going to be a process. But the people who are not so familiar with ghostwriting, or who are not familiar with writing a book, they're always hesitant, like, well, how are you going to do that? How are you going to get into my voice and to write in my style? And, when I know I have to explain that to them, then I realize, okay, they're probably not ready to write a book. So then let me put that question to you, Jeff. A lot of people probably approach you to write a book. And, what are those cues or clues that they're saying that let you know, okay, this person is probably ready and that person probably not?
Well, one of the clues that I key in on, you're right. It doesn't take, I do speak to a lot of authors, and which is great. But do I write for every author? No, because, it has to be a good fit. But I can tell immediately on how well they're prepared, honestly. But when they approach me, when I get inquiries, hey, yeah, I want to write a book, I want to talk to you, and then I hear someone, they basically say, well, I got this idea, I haven't really written anything, I'm just kind of, this is what my thoughts are. But when I have an author come to me and say, I have an outline, this is my idea, this is the market, this is the target, reader I want to focus in on, then they've done some homework, and I can tell that somebody that I can work with. That's it's just and also it's a human thing. It's a humanistic, what kind of feelings do you get from that author, and the author, and same thing, what kind of feelings am I projecting as a ghostwriter on the other end that makes them want to work with me? That process, the actual process, I try to explain with the website, and being upfront with materials. And I even offer to write, hey, I'll write you a sample, 1 page, 2 paragraph, to get you to understand as the author, this is what's going to happen. This is what style that we can try to focus in on. And it doesn't take that long to do that, to acquire a client, and that builds trust. If I'm saying, hey, I'm going to write a little bit for you and show you, some real live proof that I could write for you, I do take that time to do that. But as long as that author, I get those feelings that somebody I want to work with. Yeah.
Definitely. Definitely. And so, here we are talking about, that process, definitely those initial steps, because those are always the key points where you either get the client or you don't. But you've actually gone on and you've written a book to help people find a ghostwriter. And so you said you published recently, correct?
Yeah, I just published it recently. I did it myself. I actually did not. I chose to do it myself instead of going after a major publishing deal, because I really felt the need and you as a ghostwriter, I'm sure, know the issues, that there are hurdles, that there's many people out there that don't know about ghostwriting, and they know enough about ghostwriting, but they've all read the myths and the horrible stories and the opinions on the internet. And I thought I would just kind of set the record straight. And this book is not only written for those new authors out there, but it's written for ghostwriters as well. That ghostwriters out there like you or anyone listening could take the book and say, you know what, read this book. This will help you find me. It's not a book that's pointing toward me, Jeff Mangus. It's a book. It's not. I set that out on purpose. I wanted the book to be a broad but still a narrowed focus, to help ghostwriters, fellow ghostwriters out there, because not every client is a fit. And you've already heard me say that.
Yeah.
Not everyone I talk to is a fit for me. There was one gentleman, of course, I'm not going to name names, but I spoke to one gentleman. He scared me so bad that my spine chilled, and I knew that it was not going to be, he was speaking of the scariest stuff that I can't even describe.
Wow.
Worse than a horror movie. And immediately my spine got chilled, and I didn't take the project. And it was just one of those things. It's like dating. You just know or you don't know. It's really that simple. But my book, it's called Hiring Your Ghost, and it is a truly deep dive into. It's taken that new author or business entity, Fortune 500 leader, corporate businessman, or hectic business. It doesn't matter, small or large business person. If you're out there and you're seeking to write a book, then this book can help you on the actual process of finding the perfect ghostwriter that fits your style, your personality. Not again, we know that personalities mesh or they don't, and it takes, just like dating, it takes a few kissing a few frogs before you find the right one. And
True.
So that's why I wrote the book. I really thought I found a real need there to not only help myself, help other ghostwriters, and help new authors have at least a direction. Now, is my book the essential way? No, it's not. But it's what I know and what I experience, and I've talked to some other ghostwriters and what they experience. So it's in the book as well. So.
Definitely. And that's a great resource. I've been able to read some of it. I haven't been able to finish it yet. Just want to admit that, but great writing. And you're highlighting a lot of stuff, common issues that even I run into with potential clients. But I also love the approach with the book, the underlying approach that you set up with it, because the other books that I have read on ghostwriting, and there's not a lot. I think I can count them all on one hand.
Yeah,
it's more the technical aspect of, this is what ghostwriting is. This is how you need to approach it. And, it's really more getting into the mindset, which is not bad. I mean, we need those books. But from a business standpoint, from a hiring standpoint, there's just not a lot of, I guess, standards there for finding a ghost. I mean, there's a lot of articles, a lot of people talk about it, but there's not this, commonly held standard for what a ghostwriter does, how you should approach them, pay, and, working together, what that relationship looks like. Because everyone knows, okay, when you go to a doctor, you're going to sit in the waiting room, you're going to do your copay, you're going to talk with them, they're going to ask you some questions, and everyone knows that because everyone needs a doctor.
Right.
But when it comes to ghostwriting, when it comes to writing a book, there's still a lot of unknowns. And so the approach that I'm seeing, and I liken this to Jay Baer's Youpreneur. Have you read that?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
utility. Sorry. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, Jay, I misquoted your title. But Jay Baer's utility, basically, he's answering questions, or he's taking that approach of answering questions about whatever industry you're in as a means to help people. And if they want to work with you, great. If not, at least you've provided them with some means to go find somebody that works well for them. So had you read utility before you wrote this book?
I have read the book, but I honestly, that's the first time I'd actually really thought about that kind of comparison to what I was trying to do. This was honestly my book came from an organic approach of, I'm like, I spend a lot of time on the phone and talking to authors, and that's not a complaint. That's not a complaint. I love that. I love meeting new people, love
Mm-hmm.
talking to new authors. But I'm like, okay, there has to be some kind of, well, how can I help them more? How can I help and also help other ghostwriters, uh, teach their clients the process or potential new clients? I felt like if we could put something together that could be an overall need and help someone out there, that was my approach, and I wanted to approach it. I didn't want to put a whole lot of, high language or hard language or business language. I
Mm-hmm.
really wrote it and from just a layman's terms, but it's not simplistic. I wrote it straightforward, and to pretending that I was the recipient, and how would I receive that book? Would it be helpful to me if I was looking for a ghostwriter? And that's the approach that I took.
Definitely. Because in Made to Stick by Dan Heath and Chip Heath, this is where I first heard about it, the curse of knowledge. We get so embroiled in something, and we've been doing it for so long that we don't understand what it's like for somebody completely new to that. And I have two little girls, and so they're asking me questions of like, well, why is this way, and why is that way? And I'm starting to realize again, okay, I've been an adult for a while now, probably longer than I want to admit. Uh, but there's things that we know and we accept them and we don't think twice. And so as a ghostwriter, I still fall into those fallacies every now and then. Somebody asks, well, why do we need a line edit? Well, you need a line edit because it tightens up the narrative and all these other reasons. And I forget, okay, they've never had to do a line edit. They don't understand that.
That's
So,
right.
hopefully your book answers that question as well in later chapters. But definitely that utility approach of, being a help first before you start, trying to get them to buy your product. So that's always great. So then hiring a ghostwriter, and then you'd also written your Limb Lost Life and your other ghostwriting projects. How did all of that experience of writing first contribute to this book? Was it did you have your own kind of routine down by now?
Well, at this point, this book is a culmination of, as of date, I've ghosted about 14 books,
Mm-hmm.
and some I can't mention, of course, of
Yeah,
confidentiality.
and
But
non-disclosures. Yeah.
yeah, but yeah, this is my 14th book, and I've done many books for some high profile individuals that are globally known, which is exciting. But all this book came from working with every one of those these people that allowed me into their life, but also did not know about the ghostwriting process. Even though they were business leaders and great, skilled in their business when it came to ghostwriting and publishing and knowing the industry and knowing about editors and agents and everything above. I mean, I can go on and on about everything involved in the publishing industry. It was me not only toeing the line, helping them, which is what a ghostwriter does. Because ghostwriting to me is more than just writing. I mean, you're wearing very many hats. You know it,
Mm-hmm.
Kyle. You're a babysitter sometimes, or you
Sure.
are
Yeah.
a pacifier, or you're a vessel for someone to vent.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because these relationships are built, and they are built as a one-on-one, and it goes back to making sure the client the ghostwriting relationship fits. Because if it doesn't fit you as a new author, if the ghostwriter doesn't work for you, they get on your nerves, get out of the project. Don't start the project. Make sure it's a good fit. And that was really the reason for the book. And that's where the book came from 14 books of experience, from my own books, and started on down the line. And I've been a very busy man. And because, in the ghostwriting world, 14 books it's something worthy of mention, because of the work involved. It didn't come easy. These books were not written in a month. These were long built relationships with authors, hard fought manuscripts that were, chiseled out tooth and nail. And it not only gave me experience, but it allowed me to be able to help others and make their book dreams become real. And that's where the book really came from.
So. Awesome. Yeah, because previous guest, Armando Cruz, he wrote a book, Leaving Your Legacy. And so I asked him, what was that like? And he said, I was blessed with ignorance when I wrote this book. Because he originally wanted to do it in 90 days. And he said something like 2 or 3 months or 6 months later or something like that, it was finally done. So he wanted to do another one, but now he knew, okay, this isn't going to be just, bing, bang, boom, and we're done. It was going to take a lot of time.
Absolutely.
So yeah. And I think what a lot of people don't understand is with a ghostwriter, they're taking on that time constraint or that time consuming task for you to do it. Because some people approach me and they say, can you get this done in a month? And I said, well, probably not. If you do want me to get it done in a month, it's not going to be cheap. And so, there's always that back and forth there, because it is a time consuming thing. And that's part of why we do it, because we love sitting down and writing. And I know that sounds odd to a lot of people, and I realize that too.
It doesn't sound odd to me. I know exactly.
Yeah.
I'm hooked on writing. If I'm not writing, I'm seriously don't feel right.
Mm-hmm.
My whole persona is off.
Yeah.
I have my life and other things, but I totally understand what you're saying, Kyle. If I'm not, my whole life is, busy, but when I'm at my computer and I'm writing, that is Zen. Mm-hmm. As Ray Bradbury said, it's Zen, the art of writing, which by the way is it's a great book.
Yes, it is. And plus too, I also like the sounds of keys clicking when I'm writing, when thoughts are just moving and it's clicking. It's very therapeutic and very calming for me. And so
absolutely.
Yeah, I miss that. I wish I could have that, 8 hours every day, but I don't always get that option. It's frustrating.
The Communicate Influence podcast explores the obvious and less obvious issues and trends affecting PR, communications, and marketing. It is essential listening for individuals at the forefront of these industries. Discover the Communicate Influence podcast at communicateinfluence.com or via your favorite podcast listening app.
Would you like to be a guest on the Career Challenges podcast? Go to careerchallengespodcast.com to find out how. While you're there, check out other episodes and download them through Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Podcast Addict, Castbox, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and more. The Career Challenges podcast is hosted by me, Kyle Weckerly. I'm a certified professional ghostwriter who works with business thought leaders and industry experts to write polished manuscripts, assess their publishing options, and create book marketing plans. I've worked with consultants, high-ticket salespeople, coaches, speakers, C-level executives, and business owners. My authors have worked for USAA, Vistage, Booz Allen Hamilton, Austin Technology Council, and Twitch. My authors know that writing a book will help them change the world. They know that the story they tell will create that change. So they want to write a book to serve as a platform for their marketing endeavors. They know a published book will help them secure more speaking gigs, market their expertise, promote a product or service, and more. So reach out to Kyle Weckerly at weckerlywriter.com to start your publishing journey. Maybe you're not ready to start that journey just yet, but you do know that you want to write a book. So where to begin? Well, if you're ready, go to weckerlywriter.com to download 101 questions to ask before writing your book. This will help you get started and will offer guidance on the next steps to turn your ideas, experience, and actionable knowledge into a completed manuscript. Just visit weckerlywriter.com to get your free copy today. That's weckerlywriter.com. WECKERLYWRITER.com. And now, back to the Career Challenges podcast. So not only are you, a published author and you've ghostwritten books for other people, but you also are like me. You're a podcaster.
Yeah, well, like you, we talked about before. I'm really just getting it off the ground, so I can't honestly say, yay, I'm really hitting. But I believe in podcasting. I think it is the way of the world now. I think that it's just an incredible, venue for people, opportunity for people like me tonight be able to speak with you. Which is an opportunity that I would not have in my life if it wasn't for podcasting, for the ability to do that. And so, my podcast is really it kind of started the germ or the brainchild for the book, Hiring Your Ghost, because my whole podcast has been dedicated to that imaginary person out there who's looking and seeking to write a book, but doesn't really know about ghostwriting and what it entails. So that's where I've built, that's where the foundation of the podcast is. It's Ghostwriting USA podcast. It's really fairly simple. It is on many, channels out there, but yeah, I'm just getting it off the ground, but I have made a vow to myself that I'm going to make that show, something viable. That's the next goal.
Yeah. So whereas my podcast is interview based, and I try and do about 40 minutes of dialogue. So there's some really good meat for people to listen to and to dig into. What is the format for Ghostwriting USA podcast?
Right now, it's been a simple one. It's been me with an idea and basically talking about that idea in a relaxed form, and trying to answer questions. But I am going to start, having guests, and I'd love to have you on my show. We'll talk about that,
Definitely, yeah.
But I think it'd be great. I know Derek has talked about wanting to do some things and on the show, so that's the next step. But up to this point, the episodes have been fairly simple, straightforward, and not long. They're not an hour long worth of dribble coming from me. I
highly doubt that.
Well, I have a tendency to ramble on, so I admit that's a fault. But because I am passionate, Kyle, about what I do, and if anybody can get that from me, sorry, my dog is barking.
That's okay.
I am passionate about what I do, and I try to bring that across in everything that I do, including, hopefully this interview, my podcast, my blogs, my videos on YouTube. I just try to show that, and I think that's what I want to show the most is that, ghostwriters are real people. They're real people. They're human beings, and there's a reason for us. And that not all of us are out to just steal your money or take your money and run and not give you anything. There's a great group of people out there that are great ghostwriters, and it's been amazing how many friends that I have now in the industry being a ghostwriter and being I love talking to the ghostwriters and talking about their what they experience and what it's amazing. The friends that I've made in the business. Yeah.
You had touched on it earlier, passion. You can talk for a long time about this topic, ghostwriting, and so can other ghostwriters. But what I find interesting, and it's funny sometimes, but mostly interesting, that when people approach me with an idea for a book, usually they're asking, is this idea viable?
Right.
Is it a good idea? And there's no such thing as a bad idea for a book. It's just bad execution. There's some really great ideas out there, and I've read some books that I thought, okay, this sounds like it would be a really meaty subject, and they did a really bad job of executing and delivering it. I'm not going to say which books though.
Right.
But I mean, it's all in how you execute the idea. And if you have passion about the idea, then that's something that I can work with, and we can get that out there. Because when people are passionate about something, and it may not be like, sports or cars or stuff like that, I can understand there would be that timidity when expressing that passion. And
Right.
I've been doing this long enough that I'm like, you know what, I'm a ghostwriter. If you don't like that, then I guess we just can't be friends. I'm going to be passionate about it. I'm going to talk about it, and you just got to deal with it. Because I remember in another job that I was in long ago, when I was maybe not an adult. Every guy was into trucks, and trucks are cool, but they're not really my thing. I don't know all the little numbers that go into the engine parts and all that. I have basically a basic engineering understanding of how they work. But this, we're working together. This other guy was there, and this big truck goes down the road with dual tires, and it sounds all manly and everything. He goes, "Whoa, that's a really cool truck." I'm like, "Yeah, that looks pretty cool." And I just went back to work. He goes, "You're not into trucks." I said, "No, not really my thing." And I went back to work, and he looked so deflated, like, "Well, what is there to talk about? What is there anything else that we could talk about?"
Right.
Yeah. So his passion obviously was trucks. Mine wasn't. But definitely when you have that passion and you can run with it, then there's a lot of fodder there for a book, which is great.
There really is, and that's the other thing too. When I do work with an author, I have to know that they're going to be engaged with me as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just a here you go. Now I've written books that I talk about it in the book, Hiring Your Ghost. I was handed a one-line statement, said write a 50,000 word book on this thing, and I was able to accomplish it. Was it easy? No, it was not.
Yeah.
It still involved me asking a lot of questions and doing a lot of research. But at the end of the day, would I do it again? I would choose not to, because I believe the passion needs to come from the author as well.
Mm-hmm.
I'm passionate about, I write for business. I love business. I love the whole semantic about business, and different everything coming at me that way. That's where I've really want to focus on that, because that's where my forte is. But that's where I'm passionate about. Now I've written memoirs, which is it's a different type of writing for me. But it also gave me a break from my normal, and challenged me, and was able to successfully do those kind of things, which is for me. I look at that as a great challenge, and I was able to step up and show that I could do that and make a book that the author was very proud of, and she's doing really well. So, but passion, it has to come from the author as well. I need to know they're going to engage with me, they're going to talk with me, they're going to give up some time of their week. I don't ask for a lot. I'm sure you don't either. Mm-hmm. I just need an hour or two, maybe, or an hour a week. That's all I need from you. Then you can go on with your business and allow me to do the back end and let me do the writing, So.
Definitely. Yeah, because if there is no passion, if I'm essentially talking them into the project, that means I'm going to be dragging them through the project. And, I just don't have the emotional energy to do that, especially with something, even if I'm passionate about writing, I'm not passionate about doing that. So
yeah,
definitely.
That's happened to me too. One of my first authors, the gentleman was he knew his subject. He knew his subject, but he also didn't know his subject. He wasn't real passionate about it. It was just more of a cut and dry, hey, this is what I want to talk about, let me know kind of thing. And it was hard on me to put, like you say, pull the line and bring him through until the end. And he got excited because he was seeing the big picture of the book coming into focus, which then he got excited, it helped me complete the project, because it was a long haul getting there.
So awesome. So I do want to ask, what is a story of, like, one of your favorite stories of working with an author? And of course you don't have to go into specifics, but was there one that jumps out to you where you're always happy to share?
Yes. Well, number one, I just spoke about a memoir I just wrote recently, and my little author, she she was as green as grass. She did not know anything about books or publishing, or she just came to me and said, "This is my story, and I want to put it into words." And her story was really touching, and it touched me in a way that, I wanted to get involved. I knew I wanted to get involved. And we met a few times, and the relationship was there. We just talked about that earlier, how having that, we knew it was going to work, and we got to work. But the story that the most, it kind of hits me, is that the more I wrote, the more touched I was. And there were moments where I was crying as a ghostwriter. And that's when I knew that I had arrived at a level that I was writing this lady's family story, and that I was able to get into her head deep enough that it affected me emotionally. Wow. And that was something that, I remember sitting here in my desk crying, and my wife walked in and she's like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm just so touched by this." And so that was a moment, that sticks out to me. And also one other author that I wrote for, he's very passionate about his career and what he does. And he and I worked on, the relationship became so close knit, that even today he calls me once a day. Wow. Once a day. I don't hear from him, something's wrong. And we talk, and I always give him my time because I respect him. But he and I got into his subject so deep that it was something that it hit him so hard that he broke down, and I broke down, because it was such a touching, it meant so much to him. And for me to share that with an author, that's the kind of deep passion me as a ghostwriter wants to give all of my authors. Mm-hmm. And I think, I'm sure you do the same thing. You get so involved with your author that it becomes more of you don't skew the line, but you definitely know that there's more than just there is camaraderie at some point, and there's a coming together. And when those two events in my life happened to me, I knew that I was on the right path of really just, it just makes you want to learn more about more people and do more for others,
Definitely. And it's humbling to realize that these people are trusting us with their story and with getting it out there. And not that, I'm the only one who can do it, or Jeffrey is the only one who can do it. But just getting the chance to be part of that. And, I don't really need the credit for it either, but knowing that I helped them get their story out is humbling, and knowing that people's lives are going to get changed because we were able to work together and to get this story created and polished and out there. It strikes me with awe every now and then, and it still does today. Of this is what I get to do, and I wish I could do this so much more than what I've already done, and it's just amazing.
Well, this is the first time in my life, and I've done a lot of things in my life. I've worked in cardiovascular surgery for 12 years. Again, I said I was a real estate broker. I've done a lot of things in my life, but I can honestly say just what you said. Every morning now, I get up with excitement. I get up with excitement. Before, it was drudgery.
Yeah.
Get up. Now, every day, I have a great place to work. It's safe, and it's quiet, and it's professional. And I get to sit. I am the captain of the ship, and I get to sit here and create words for someone else's dreams to come. There's nothing else like that. No. I mean, there's just not, unless you're a counselor or something. That's great. I mean, but when it comes to writing, this is for me is the dream job. So
definitely awesome. Well, we're just about out of time, Jeffrey, but I do want to give you the option. Where can people find Hiring Your Ghostwriter specifically, and then also if they wanted to connect with you, where can they find you?
Well, great. The book is called Hiring Your Ghost, and it is on Amazon in paperback and Kindle. It's on Barnes and Noble. It's on Ingram Spark. It's on many others. Drafted Digital. It's Publish Drive. I can go on. And but it's out there, so you can seek it, and hopefully you will. Again, the main site you can find it is on Amazon. And how to reach me? You can visit my website at ghostwritingusa.com, or you can email me with any questions. I always invite people. I'm not going to sell you anything. You can email me questions if you want to. You can reach me at ghostwriterusa and the number 1 at gmail.com.
Awesome. So you're the first Ghostwriter USA out there.
Yeah, I needed to make that email work, so I just put a 1 on it.
There you go. Awesome. Well, Jeff, thank you so much for being on the Career Challenges podcast with me today.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Kyle. It was great talking to you.
Thank you for listening to the Career Challenges podcast. Don't forget to subscribe and like the Career Challenges podcast on your favorite podcasting app. Visit careerchallengespodcast.com for more information. And if you really like me, then you'll write a review. And don't forget to pick up your free copy of 101 Questions to Ask before writing your book by visiting weckerlywriter.com. That's WECKERLYWRITER.com.